my first winter here. It's absolutely gorgeous. We're going to be starting a new series of interviews that I did with a bunch of folks during my cross-country trip that you guys were no doubt following me on Instagram. So I'm going to be editing that. And then there's a bunch of content that's coming. So now that things are starting to come together at Chez K in Studio B, which is our main living room, I can start doing some stuff. Studio A, unfortunately, still delayed. We are still waiting for contractors to come out and finish it. It's been a bit of a pain, bit of a sore, just because I was really kind of hoping it would be finished by now, but that was not to be. And so we're just kind of at the mercy of the contractors and waiting for things to get done. Kudos. And once that's in progress, then we're going to be seeing a lot more content. So anyway, enjoy this new series. I think it's going to be fun. This first one is going to be with Craig Crane, the great Craig Crane.
Is this thing recording? Are we live? I guess it says, yeah, recording. 5 seconds into it. Ladies and gentlemen, what's happening, everyone? Welcome to another show at SonicFlare. We haven't done these in a while for obvious reasons if you follow the channel. But today's guest, none other than, hold it. None other than my dear friend, and as of late, award-winning record reissue producer, the wonderful, the incredible Craig Crane, and of course, featuring his first title. Oh, you have one too. Oh, good. AOR1. Fantastic.
I've got quite a few.
Where did you get your copy? Where did you get your copy?
I bumped into a guide in a dark alley, and he had a whole box of them.
He was handing them out. Reminds me of the old days in college in Florida. You'd run into these guys at the gas station selling hot speakers for $200.
Yeah,
we have a truck full of them. Do you want HiFi high-end audio speakers? Yeah. Craig, my dear friend, cheers to you. Cheers to the incredible success. And, hey, onwards and upwards, my friend. Oh, you've got a glass of red as well. Nice. Fantastic.
Well, it's more.
I'm
it's
drinking
more
a Malbec.
I'll be honest. I'm drinking. It's from your old neck of the woods. Bread and butter.
Oh, nice. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And I see you're in your record den. Fantastic.
It's all green screen. None of it's real.
Let me see if I can turn down the music just a little more. There we go. What's that?
It's all visual. It's all visual effects, Danny. None of it's real.
It's all fake. None of it's real. Wait, are you real? Huh? Let me touch you, Craig.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Danny. Since the actors' strike, thanks actors and writers, I've had nothing to do this year apart from make records.
It's funny you bring that up. Every now and then I think of your professional career, of course, which is an award-winning VFX. For those of you in Rio Linda, that's visual effects supervisor and creator job, which is what you basically do. I mean, you've worked on all kinds of genuine blockbuster movies, including The Flash. So if you, I think The Flash is the last big one, right?
Well, define big, because not many people liked it.
Well, that's a different story. I mean, that's Hollywood gone wrong.
Yeah, well, the whole Hollywood thing is weird at the moment.
Look, I'm the first guy to stand up when there's a great movie, and I'm also the first guy to stand up when there is a shite movie. And let's face it, there's been a lot of shit coming out of Hollywood lately.
Hollywood.
Lots of propaganda, lots of nonsense. I'm like, dude, I want to go watch a movie. I don't want to go to a political show, you know? And anyway, Disney, I heard, is completely tanked. And so anyway, but that's Hollywood. Who cares about Hollywood? We're here to talk about high-end audio, HiFi records.
Well, I have
the
to say
life
before
of Craig Crane.
Before we move on, Danny, before
In
we
the
move on, I
wake
just want to say. So you're right. The quality of the films has tanked, and I've noticed that in the last 5 years, I spend more time in this room than I do in the other room, which is where I watch my movies.
Well, that if that's not saying something, I don't know what would be. I mean, look, it's first of all these spectacle movies, as I call them, which granted you're a big part of with the work that you do. They're fun, they're exciting, they're cool to look at and watch every now and then. But I think there's fatigue that sets in, right? In fact, I was just watching the fabulous Michael Fassbender, Dr. Fassbender, in this Netflix movie where he plays a hitman. And let me tell you something. If you haven't seen it already, first of all, I strongly recommend you watch it. It is an absolutely brilliant movie. But most importantly, to the extent that there was visual effects, which I've seen the making of, so I know there was, it very minimalist and not what you're thinking. No spectacles of things blowing up or being exploded, and no 100-pound Asian women beating up a 300-pound sumo wrestler. It's realistic, right? I mean, it was a great movie. So anyway, plug to Michael Fassbender. Plus, he's a cool race car driver.
Great.
And so I really appreciate the guy.
Great visual effects should actually be invisible. So, case in point, Napoleon. Ridley Scott is saying that there's no visual effects in that film. There's loads of visual effects in that film. It's just they're not obvious.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. They're not obvious. Absolutely. Yeah. Talking about so my favorite YouTuber to watch when it comes to movie reviews is The Critical Drinker. He says it like it is. His reviews are always spot on. And, big plug to The Critical Drinker. In fact, I'm going to tag him in this video. Let's see if, I sincerely doubt he'll watch it, but hey, who cares? Anyway, shall we segue over to your new life, Craig?
Yeah.
I love your glasses. You look you look proper posh.
I tell you what I look like. I look like the illegitimate love child of SonicFlare and Johnny Darko. and
that's a good one.
I'll be honest with you. I'm actually dreading going to Berlin next year because I just know people are going to come up to me and go, "Are you?" No.
Yeah, let's not go there. Yeah. Well, you certainly have the height. I'm a little midget. I'm 4'4", 400 pounds. So you did not get your height from me.
No, I got it from Dad.
Just kidding. I'm 4 foot. Yeah. I'm 5'10" with my afro.
I think Darko's also 6'4", isn't he? He's about my height.
I think he's I've seen him a handful of times. He's a tall lad. So
I'm very choosy about what I watch on YouTube, but you obviously, Darko, I love his stuff. But I'm clearly not him because there are no plants behind me. And
yes.
Who else do
I have one. My orchid.
Of course, I love the Jazz Bums. I love the Jazz Bums. And
I watched. Yes. Has she had you on yet?
No, I should be so lucky. No.
Great gal. Really enjoy her energy and content. Hey, she's doing a great job. But going back to the Jazz Bums, when I saw the video come out, I think I was texting you. It was the first time that I actually sat through and watched an entire video because it was so damn interesting. I mean, you laid out all.
I don't think I was the main attraction on that video, Danny. I think Casper Sutton Jones.
You were.
Casper is an absolute legend in his circle and my circle, and I just felt, I don't know, I felt sudden imposter syndrome kick in because he's mastered so many great records, and I was talking about my first record, and of course he's done so many. But I really enjoyed that interview. So whenever I send somebody a link, I just say to them, here it is. It's 93 minutes long. It's great, and I'm thoroughly loving it.
I have to tell you, and I mean that as sincerely as I possibly can. As you know, I've been around this HiFi racket for 20 plus years, writing for a bunch of magazines and stuff, and then starting my YouTube channel and all that. I've been around all the big boys in the business, and I have to tell you that when you first told me you're going to launch a reissue record label with the detail of the big boys, I honestly thought, I sat there for a moment and I thought, first of all, he's gone insane. Why would he do something like that? Oh, by the way, these are the effects. I forgot about that. Look at that. Ooh.
I saw this on Jazz Bums the other night.
Yeah. Yes. So you have to have an M series Mac, and then the video pipeline of the FaceTime camera goes through the processing engine. And apparently people are complaining about it because they're like, randomly they'll be showing a thumbs up, and then a thumbs up comes up somewhere. Then when you're doing 2 thumbs up, it's the explosions, which is kind of cool. And then there was another one.
What's
I forgot.
Down?
Anyway, waving a hand. Yeah, thumbs down. That's right. Let's see what happens here. Oh, rain.
Oh,
rain and storm.
So I actually,
That's hilarious. Look at that.
This came up on the Jazz Bums Friday night stream. I think it was Felipe or somebody had done the thumbs up. I spent 30 minutes in front of my laptop doing this, trying to get it to happen. And of course, I'm not on the latest model.
Yes, you need an M series Mac because that has the processing prowess and only the M series chip has. To make that happen, which is kind of cool. I listen to all these tech blogs and gadgets, and a couple of the more professional discussions. And as a matter of fact, just a couple of weeks ago, somebody actually brought it up that Apple should include a turn it off switch for that, right? And in apparently, I guess it's come up in contention with some of the people that are using. So anything that uses the FaceTime video camera from your Mac automatically goes through the imaging pipeline and produces those effects. And currently, as of today, there is no way to turn that off. And so when people are in professional settings, talking to their, therapist, talking to their banker, getting out the $60 million loan for their home in Bel Air, and you're showing one of these, I guess it's a little unprofessional to come up with the explosions. Where are they? There they are. Yes. So anyway, but I digress. Going back to it.
I was going to say, it must also be quite difficult if you're signing, if you're using FaceTime to sign to someone.
Absolutely. Yes. Great point.
And you're having a really serious conversation, like, I'm sorry your dog died, and suddenly you get 2 thumbs up.
100%. 100%. Going back to the conversation piece, the first thought was, oh my God, he's gone completely insane. What is he trying to do? Doesn't he know how insane a business that is? The second thing I thought was, wow, he is really setting the bar extremely high. And 3 was, man, I can't wait to see the content that he's going to put out, right? So, Craig, in your own words, enlighten us. How do you feel?
Well, first of all, I announced it on one of your streams. That was the first thing. So you were in Hungary, doing your thing, and we did a stream one night with 2 other people, and I just kind of let it slip.
I do remember that. Yes, gosh, that was forever ago.
Yeah, lifetime ago. A lot's happened.
Hungary is a banned word. Don't you know that?
The H word. You were in the H word, and I think it was basically that week we'd actually received news that the license had been granted from Universal, and
yes.
And all I knew at the time was that we were doing this, and I've never done this before, but I figured, well, how difficult can it be? Because it's no different than when you're working on a film. You're creating something from nothing. So I had to basically figure out how I was going to create something from nothing. And I know I went through this on the Jazz Bums thing, but I've got my old, that's the Japanese copy. No. I've got my old copy here from college. I bought this in 1986. And I was like, well, how can we, it's thin, it's flimsy, and it's okay. But I just wanted to, I didn't want to be another reissue. I own a record shop. We have reissues coming in left, right, and center. And you look at some of them as they come in, and you're like, they want people to pay how much for that? So I just thought, right, what's the mission here? And I was very, you and I talked about this a great length, because you and I talk, every couple of days we share some nonsense. And I said, well, the sleeve, the sleeve needs to be eye-catching. The insert needs to be eye-catching. It needs to be informative. And then you and I got talking, because thanks to you, I was, at the time, I was the proud owner of 2 DS audio cartridges, because watching your channel on a Sunday morning when you sort of were posting sort of Sunday morning UK time, I had to brace myself with every video, because I was like, Danny's posting hardware, this is going to be an expensive watch, and that led me to the DSE1, and then I wanted a DS003 for this room, and you and I got talking about it, and I was just kind of like, Danny, do you think there's any mileage in in reaching out to the DS guys? And you're like, stop, I'll introduce you right now. I'll get that ball rolling. Because I wanted to have a consistent pipeline from listening to, OG presses, test presses, and final products. And I didn't want to do that, on this system or that system or the one upstairs in the lounge. I just wanted to have one system where I could just have this consistent bar, where I knew exactly what the sonic characteristics were. And lo and behold, you sent this amazing email to Aki, but not just Aki, but also to Ed and Amadeus Meitner, and said, introduce me to them and the project. And then we had we had this really interesting Zoom meeting, but because Aki's in Japan and the miners are in Calgary and I'm sort of in London, I ended up drawing the short straw and had to sit here at 3 a.m. in the morning so that I could talk to Aki in his kind of midday and the miners in their early evening. And I was delirious at 3 o'clock. I was like, I'm talking absolute gibberish. And Aki just went, actually, no, it wasn't Aki. It was Amadeus. He said, well, what do you need? And I said, well, what are you offering? You know, what do you think I need to really evaluate this project? And he said, I need your shipping address. And then 2 weeks later, these boxes turned up, and I was like, plugged it in, and I was expecting to be amazed, but I plugged it in, and I was like, how on earth can they better the DS Audio 003? You know, I mean, they just, the ceiling just kept getting higher and higher and higher, and I was listening. So I pulled out all my OGs, and I was like, "This is nuts." I was hearing stuff on my OG that I'd never heard on the 003 through the minor, and I just thought, this is how we have to do this. We have to have this as part of our quality assurance pipeline. That, we use this for test presses, final production. So every time I process a box, I pull out the 50th record from each box and just play it all the way through, just to make sure that it's consistent with the first one. And that's all thanks to you. And that's
a tiny part in the game. I'm happy to have been able to make that happen, because I think, first of all, to your point, I think that once you listen to optical cartridge compared to an MC, I don't care what MC it is, you're going to hear qualities that no MC can produce. And it's been my go-to reference with, the last sort of year and a half being a bit of a blur, because I didn't have anything set up as far as HiFi. But no, I mean, it's interesting actually that you bring up the concept, and I mean that literally, the concept of authentic, regular, and consistent quality control, because there's so many people that are pinging me all the time where they're like, oh man, I bought the latest whatever, and how the hell could this have happened? What happened to this copy? I got to send it back. It's incredibly noisy. It's this, it's that. It doesn't sound any good. And so I think the fact that you're investing in this concept of having a benchmark that is very high, obviously, as far as quality control. I mean, look, I know Chad plays the records, the test pressings he gets. Sure. Does he play them on a quote unquote high-end system? Sometimes maybe. The MoFi guys, I really don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they'll listen into it. I know Shane does from Intervention Records. He's obviously incredibly, incredibly diligent about making sure that his stuff sounds good. And then, believe it or not, Impex, Bob Donnelly is their what's his title? I guess he's the audio evaluator, right? Really the close to mastering. I mean, when they're doing a session with Bernie, he participates as often as he can. And, when he gets records shipped to him at home, he evaluates them and listens intently. Actually, during my cross-country trip over the last couple of weeks that I was back west, I had a chance to listen with him. And yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I think it's important, right? I mean, people are shelling out. What does the record retail for in the UK?
Wow. It should be. Everyone says it's like they're enjoying it more than some of the other, I won't mention them, but more prestigious audiophile titles. It should be a $38 to $40 record. It's £27.50. So,
yeah.
but that was all part of my planning, because
I think you need to jack your prices.
Well, the next one will be, because the next one isn't going to be cheap. And the fourth one, so I have a conversation going at the moment. You know what it is. Nobody else does, apart from one other person. If we can pull this off,
My lips are sealed. Sorry, I can't say it.
Yeah, it'll be, how the F has he done this? But my biggest issue was that I didn't want to, I've always been very adaptable throughout my career. I've worn many, many hats, but this is the one that and in hindsight, this is the thing that I think I've actually enjoyed doing the most in the 40 odd years that I've been working. I didn't want to do a fake it till you make it kind of, it'll be all right, it'll come out in the wash. I just wanted to make sure that this was absolutely my foot in the door with the biggest music conglomerate in the world, because that's important. They were very impressed, by the way. That made my day when they sent me back their feedback. But I'm putting my own money in this, and it's not like I've got a back catalogue of 100 titles and a huge cash reserve that I can pull from because of those 100 titles. This is my first. This is coming out of my own pocket. So I didn't want to be sitting on boxes of 1,000 unsold records, because that wouldn't be fun. That's, you're making a loss there. But I was also aware of the fact. There's a very ask me about the app in a minute. This is interesting. But I didn't. I was very aware of the fact that you only really kind of make your return on the sort of last hurdle, the last third, and everything up to that point, you're recouping your costs, but also you're paying royalty to the label. You've already paid your mechanical rights, your MCPS up front. They become sort of rolled into your upfront costs. I didn't want to be sat there with, I pressed 1,000. I didn't want to be sat there with, 750 records unsold with 3 years to sell them, thinking, where did I go wrong? So we're in a very good position, because, we've sold way over half, I think we're near the 600 mark. A lot of those went out to Japan. And the lessons learned from this were, palpable, because there's every corner you turn, there's something new, there's a new obstacle to navigate. And what I've done is I kept a very concise set of notes from every meeting that I attended with the print guys, the mastering session with Casper. I just documented everything. So when I go into AOR 002 and look back and go, right, what would I do differently compared to what I did first time around? Going into our second title now, much more confidently than I went into our first one. Fortunately, I had Casper kind of guiding me through the whole mastering process, but also Casper was a real good resource for dealing with the pressing plant. Gearbox pressing plant. So going into the next title, in fact, the next two titles are both from the same artist. One is licensed from Universal, the other one will be licensed directly from the estate. I kind of feel like I can kind of hit the ground running and carry on from where I left off on our first one. That means probably more pages on the insert. I think where we did a 4-page insert, I think we're probably going to be doing a 6-page deal. The second title, the only thing holding us up at the moment, and you know this because you and I talked about this, and I showed you the email that we sent the other day. The question of using the analog tapes has been elevated to the upstairs at Universal. I'm quietly confident. I mean, that was, the email you know, the email spoke for itself. You know, why are you calling yourself Analogue October Records when your first album was sourced from a digital file? Well, it wasn't just a digital file. It was actually a transcription that they did for us, specifically for, I think, their guys at Abbey Road on the tape. They're not going to send you the tape, you know, from my first release. But I feel that, you know, we've proved our metal. And I'll be honest with you, Danny, it doesn't sound like it was sourced from an analog, from a digital file. It actually has
absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. It's only for the fact that on the hype sticker it says sourced from a file.
I was just, if I may just interject for a second, you know, I think one of the things that I also immediately jumped on when you and I were discussing this in the early stages was that you insisted at every single step to be completely transparent, not hide anything, not shove anything under the carpet. In other words, the customer sees the record on the shelf somewhere and they look at the hype sticker, and within, you know, 10 seconds of reading the hype sticker, they know exactly what they're getting. There's no BS, there's no nonsense, there's no hidden. Yeah. So kudos for doing that, right? I mean, I know of instances where even the big boys have not divulged that their records are sourced digitally.
Well,
and we all know what happened in MoFi. So,
well, I was going to say I can't afford for a record store halfway across the world to call me out because I've passed something off as something that it's not. You know, you have to be transparent. I mean, the consumer has a choice. They can either buy it or not. And as I said on the Jazz Bums interview, if you're someone who only buys AAA titles, you'll probably say, well, that's not for me because it was sourced from digital. But you're also cutting your nose off to spite your face because it doesn't sound like your typical record that has been sourced from a digital file, because Casper's workflow and Casper's process is very unique to Gearbox, and it is part of the Sonic characteristic. Now, on the Jazz Bums, there was a comment that, you know, it's gone from tape to digital, why put it back to tape? Which is a very, you know, very valid comment from a very well-regarded and respected professional. And, you know, he's right. But in this instance, after going backwards and forwards between the different forces, my ear told me that the way of going from digital to tape brought things back to life. Bearing in mind, this is a recording from.
Look,
this is a recording from 1986. So it's very bright. The original recording is very bright, very hot, very compressed. We kind of loosened it up a bit.
I've been telling people. Yeah, I've been telling people one of my secrets for listening to streams from either Tidal or Qobuz is to actually make a cassette copy, granted on my Dragon, on a metal tape, but it sounds better. It sounds better. It really does. I put in the Tidal stream, I make a compilation tape, and, you know, I don't know what it is. It's the distortions. It's the processing. It's the magnetics. It's who knows what it is. It's the tape formula. Who knows what it is? It just sounds better. It sounds more pleasing. And so, to your point, at no point do I ever feel or felt like when you first sent me the test pressing that I was like, oh, wow, you know, hey, I'm listening to a digital record. Not at all.
It's interesting that you mentioned the test pressing, because Casper had warned me that when these test presses are done, the actual presses never reach full temperature. It's basically called a cold press. So I was really, I was getting a bit anxious, really, in the sort of days before the test pressings were arriving, because Casper was like, they can be a bit noisy, but it's, the whole point is to make sure that, the sides are correct, the tracks are in the right order. It's more about that than it is about the quality. And obviously, being an audiophile, you build up test presses and being this kind of, this holy grail, this magical, mystical disc that sounds better than all other discs. The test presses arrived, and I sat on the turntable, and I was kind of like, this doesn't. This is. I mean, it sounded good. And I was like, Casper, I'm kind of listening to this. And it's like very clicky, very poppy. And Casper was like, are the clicks and tops in the same place? I was like, no, but it's all good. And I was like, and then he explained to me the whole cold press thing. He said, work your way through. I got 10 as opposed to 5. He said, work your way through. And by the time we got to the 10th, I was like, oh, it was great. But the first test pressing, nobody will hear that, because that was bad. I mean, it sounded awful.
Yeah.
I was like, when I listened to that, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? And by the time I got to 10,
interestingly enough, not that we're going to segue into it, but that sounds a whole lot like hot stampers. Ooh, controversial topic. I've always told people, look, when I first heard Bob Donnelly, now with Impex Records, play me hot stampers, and we did A/B comparisons, I was sold instantly. And he is one of the guys that, one of the curators that provided Tom Port with many of his hot stampers. And let me tell you, the difference is in many cases literally night and day. And so I'm not surprised in the least that the test pressings, which are supposed to sound the best, right? Because if you look frankly at the price of test pressings on Discogs or on eBay, they're markedly higher than the regular release, right? They have this cachet around them where it's like, oh, you have test pressing, and then I have probably 200 test pressings in my garage that are incredibly coveted, and yet I have to wonder, based on the experience I've had with your release, are they really that coveted? I mean, are they really going to sound that much better? Not necessarily.
No.
Anyway.
So I made notes. So I actually sat and listened to. I spent 10 hours listening to each and every one before, and I sent you one, which was sort of like towards the end of the run. But I sent, and this is no reflection on Optimal, because Optimal, the final product, was beautiful. But this was my first experience with test presses,
100%.
and I think that I built up my expectations based on what you read on the audiophile circuit. So my notes are AOR 001ST, TP1 batch 1, side A. Shit. Side B, not much better. That was the first disc out of the.
You're pulling no punches.
Well, I'm just kind of like.
You're being very conservative.
Well, I was kind of like, I was like, but all I could hear was Casper saying, keep going, because they will improve as the pressing plant gets to full steam. And of course, lo and behold, he does this every day. This is his job. When you start getting to 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, then it's suddenly like, all good, all good, all good, all good, all good, all good, all good. Distorts in the same place. Track 5 side B. Number
Yep.
6. All good, all good, all good, all good. Same issue on B5. 8, 9, 10. All good, all good, all good. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Same issue. So there was an issue with the metalwork on B5. So I felt relaxed. I felt kind of a confidence kind of started to seep in.
Yeah.
And I learned a very valid lesson. You know, test pressings are a necessary evil. Don't feel jealous. Someone, I don't think, you know, someone said, "Oh, are you going to sell your test pressings?" I was like, no, because the final product is far, far better than the test pressings. Apart from numbers 8 and numbers 8 to 10. I think you've got the 10th, and Aki and Amadeus got 8 and 9. So then I just drew up a spreadsheet, which is basically, we use this internally, which basically, I think you saw this, you were like, oh, you're sciencing the shit out of this.
Yeah.
But basically details what turntable it was listened to, what stylus, what profile, and you can just clearly see that there's just a massive improvement from the first test pressing to the last. Anyway, cut a long story short, we got new metalwork drawn up for B-side. Optimal Express shipped the new test pressings, and I sat down. For the first time, I was kind of like, oh, this is good.
This is it.
This is it. So
what
that was probably the defining moment where I actually thought, okay, this is exactly what I wanted to achieve. And I was like, Casper, get hold of Optimal, go. Absolutely approved, 100%.
Yeah.
On the metalwork, and 3 weeks later, a pallet turned up in my driveway of 1,000 records from Optimal. 2 days earlier than it was expected.
I can't even imagine what that must have been like. Ah!
Well, it was this massive big guy with a truck outside the house, and he was like, I've got a package for you. Now, I was expecting something from DigiKey. I was expecting some capacitors, because I like when I get a bit stressed, I like to open stuff up and start soldering in new capacitors. And then he just pulled out this pallet that was like, it was like the Ark of the Covenant. And I was like, really? Today? Of all days? And it was, there was a storm coming in. It hadn't reached us. And there's 1,000 records. There's a lot of records to bring indoors. And then I get a phone call. I get the last
it
box
really
in.
is.
I get the last box in. I was like, right, first things first. Let's have a listen to the final product. And so I sit in this room with the 003, with the W3 and the Meitner DSEQ. And I won't lie, I kind of choked up, and I was like, oh, this is even better than the test pressings. And I just finished, and then I got a phone call from the guys who are doing the sleeves and the insert. Can we drop round, because they're local, they're in my village, believe it or not. They said, can we drop round your sleeves and inserts and hype stickers? And I was like, well, I've just bought in 1,000 records. My wife's going to kill me. We couldn't move for boxes. Well, you know what it's like. You just moved half your stuff from across the world. We couldn't move for boxes. I had 1,000 records, 1,000 inner sleeves, 1,000 outer sleeves, hype stickers, and essays. And my wife, who is half French, half Sicilian, she was very patient, but the language was quite colourful. She said, "You better tell these all." And yeah, so
I remember you sending me videos from 2 or 3 in the morning where you were sitting there manually putting together. Oh my god!
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
yeah.
So Optimal said, well, here's the price for pressing the record and doing the sleeve. And I was like, oh, hang on a sec. I want to do the sleeves locally, because there's a local printing company. I went down there, I had a meeting with them. I took down some of my favorite sleeves, like Tone Poets and Analog Production stuff. And I said to them, I said, look, can you guys match this quality? And they kind of looked, they pulled out the calipers and they started, gauging the thickness of the card. And then they said, well, to be honest with you, Craig, we haven't done this sort of thing before. And I was like, but yeah, we can do this. And I was like, brilliant, you got the job. I didn't need to hear anything else. And so when the records arrived from Optima, they just arrived in plain sleeves, like this, without the branding.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, actually, I can use this to our advantage, because there's nothing worse than shipping records and then someone going, oh, your record arrived, but the seams are all split. So I decided to actually ship the record outside of the sleeve using this. So have I got one here? Of course I've got one here. So it kind of, bear with me 2 seconds, Danny, you might have to edit this. So it kind of went like children of the ghetto. So I shipped the record in the sleeve that Optimal came, and it's something like that. So now your records, And I actually haven't seen that before.
Yeah, perfect.
You see some labels shipping records like this is all well and good, but you're still kind of exposed to things and damage.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a happy mistake. So now we're just going to ship our records like that forevermore. I quite enjoy that.
And by the way, quick announcement: if you watch towards the end of the video, there will be a contest in the comments below, and hopefully the lucky winner will get to enjoy AOR1 in the coming weeks. So anyway,
yes, because I think I sent you.
You sent me 5, correct? We already had one winner, and there's 4 more to go.
He was very excited. Actually,
Yes. What is your biggest learn working with Casper on AOR1?
So first of all, so I've known Casper for years because I've been selling Gearbox records since the shop opened nearly 7 years ago, and I just rang them up out of the blue many years ago and said, I'd love to come and see what you do. With no agenda, I like that kind of stuff. There was no notion of having a label at that point. That came later, and we kind of just hit it off. We enjoy the same stuff. We enjoy the same music, and we expect the same sort of level of quality from records. I mean, it's such a standardized industry. There seems to be such a chasm between what's acceptable and what's brilliant. So we kind of bonded over that, and the only lesson I really learned from Casper, really, and this is to his credit, it's the fact that just sit back and let him do his thing. Don't, I've worked on films in the past where you've had a visual effects supervisor, the client behind you, and they're what we call pixel puppets. So they'll just basically, do this and change this unnecessarily so. And I didn't want to be that client in the mastering suite going, I think maybe it should be a bit. I just deferred to him. I trust him implicitly. And I think I think that's the lesson. You know, the only takeaway really from that process is just let him do his thing. All I need to worry about is choosing the right material and then selling it. I have no right to question his creative, expertise. I trust him implicitly. When he said that, I've got an idea, let's dump that digital file that Universal sent you back to tape on. We don't have to do it. We're not obliged, but let's just have a listen. And I was like, yeah, let's have a listen. And he didn't Jedi mind trick me into doing it that way. He just showed me this is doing it this way and this is doing it that way. And we had all day. And I was like, you know what? I think that's probably absolutely the best way to go, because I know this album inside out, and it was only on hearing it, through going through their studio that I actually got that kind of goosebumpy, goosebumps kind of came, which they didn't come when we just listened to the raw file. It just came alive. So, there are engineers out there that are probably like, but in this instance, it was right. It might not be right for other stuff, but for this particular title, it was chalk and cheese. And it's not like some kind of psycho acoustic, you imagine stuff that's not there. It was night and day.
Yeah.
It was night and day. It's a shame you live so far away. I would have actually had you there in the mastering suite joining us.
Oh, I would love to come. I really would love to come. I think it'd be a hoot. Tagging on to that, you strike me more as colorful titles rather than sticking to or trying to get what the other guys are doing. Obviously, no greater point to be made than your first title that you reissued, Courtney Pine. You obviously, and look, let's face it, many of the records, you're one of my curators, right? And so many of the records that I've gotten from you through your store, Analogue October Records, have just wowed me because they're part of a genre or part of titles that I never even heard of. Many of them, right? And so it strikes me as very interesting that we can look forward to AOR reissuing stuff that's not going to be what everyone else is doing, right? Because your personal music history is very rich and very wide and very broad and unique.
Thanks, Danny. But to flip that round, also, you've sent a lot of suggestions my way where I've kind of been like, holy shit, I would never have heard of Wall and Vink had it not been for you. And now it's like, I'm all over their stuff. You introduced me to Newland, which actually is a label that I would probably want to model myself more on their model than anybody else. Look, this is great. I love this. No one can ever take this away from me, but I've also bought this 13, 14 times.
What is that? Miles Davis? Never heard of the guy.
Keep an eye on him. I predict a very bright future for this young man.
Kind of bluey. I should look into that.
I was always very frustrated that every year the Universal Music would roll out this series like Black History Month, and that's a genre that has had a massive influence on my musical tastes over the years. It's front and center, and I was like, why are they not choosing these guys? And I constantly kept going back to Courtney, and I was like, this is a very important album, and it's a major title that was produced by Michael Kaskuna, and had some real pedigree. And this was a 22-year-old kid at the time. He's not 22 now. He's nearing 60. And it was kind of like this, boom, and British jazz at the time had kind of stagnated. And if you were to ask your average British music listener, not your sort of specialist listener, but your average run-of-the-mill Joe in the street or Joanna in the street, tell me about British jazz, they'd probably go Sade or Matt Bianco.
Yes.
That was it,
Which is hilarious. Yeah. That's true, though. That's true.
It is true. And then you've got this guy who, I'd say out of nowhere. It's not really out of nowhere. That does him a disservice. He was very prolific with the Jazz Warriors, and he played with Art Blakey's Jazz Messengers at a very young age. I mean, he was going places, and he, clearly this heralded a kind of a second British jazz explosion. And there are tracks on there by Horace Silver, Wayne Shorter, but Chris and Eddie Amu, Children of the Ghetto, which is a very important document of living in 1980s Britain, which was no picnic, and this track documented it perfectly. And then self-penned Courtney Pine. And I kept asking myself, why have Universal Island not brought this out? And then I just went, you know what? Excuse my French, but fuck it. If they're not going to, I'm going to ask them for a license. This is going to be my first title for a license. So you send off. Well, first of all, you send off a document that the title, the tracks, how many you think you might press. Do you want worldwide or just territorial? So I went 1,000 worldwide, and it came back. Yeah, you can have the license, but you can't do worldwide. You can't do North America. And I just thought, you know what? Fuck it. Do it. Because if we don't do it, that recording going to sit in the vault, and nothing's going to happen to it. And it needs to be heard. And you yourself, even by your own admission, you were like, fine. What? He hadn't really made it over because Ireland didn't really push it.
Complete admission here. I honestly had not even heard of Courtney Pine until you brought him up. Yeah. And I've listened to the stuff he has on Apple Music and Tidal, and he definitely is a very accomplished artist. And then when I started looking into the history of this first title, Journey from the to the Urge from Within, I was just like, wow, this is really a pivotal record for the UK jazz scene. And live and learn, right? I mean, I don't know everything. I never claimed that I know everything, and every day I learn something new. And now I know Courtney Pine.
And the thing is
do you
about
think
the thing
we'll ever see?
Go on.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say.
I was going to say.
He's a wonderful person.
I guess
to
we have
deal
a
with
delay
as
in the
well.
line or something. Anyway.
I know. Hopefully, fix it in post, Danny. Fix it in post. He's a really nice guy. So obviously we email, and it was because my original point of contact was through his manager, Nikki, and she really deals with his kind of live obligations, not his recorded stuff. So she just kind of handed me over to him. I find myself when I'm working on a film set, you'll be standing next to, I don't know, Meryl Bloody Streep, and it's like you just kind of like you're not bothered. It's just it's another actor, and you're all there to do the same job. But when it came to actually approaching a musical hero, I suddenly found myself experiencing this whole new dynamic, and I found dealing with Courtney nothing more than it's just pleasurable. It's just the only caveat was keep your emails short, which is a near impossibility with me because I can be quite verbose. But I've just thoroughly enjoyed dealing with him from the whole process. And then I think the validation really came from client feedback, customer feedback from people that bought the records. The reviewing Jazzwise from one of the UK's most revered jazz journalists, Kevin LeBron, and to get a 4-star recommended for your first release. I set the price low, but you do that to kind of get your foot in the door and go, hey, here I am, this is what I do. And the next one won't be as cheap, but you'll also be getting a heck of a lot more bang for your buck as well in terms of additional content. Essays, because the essay. Well, let's say, for example, there are people watching this that have not come across this. They don't watch Jazz Bums. This is all new to them. You get your insert. This is actually in the sleeve. You get your essay, which was written by the editor of Jazzwise magazine. You get your making of at Gearbox. You get your Danny Kaye SonicFlare introduction to the DS Audio, and So you've contributed massively towards this, and you've obviously been a sounding board throughout the whole process. And I've bounced ideas off you, and you've gone, hey, and I can't take credit for the hype sticker. You kind of looked at the hype sticker and you went, you gave me some suggestions for the hype sticker. I implemented them, and they made a huge difference. A lot of very talented people worked on this, and I just feel that my role was as a producer, and I've made a point
bringing it all together.
But I made a point to ensure that everyone that contributed gets a thank you and a name check. It's not my musical album. I'm not the musician. I shouldn't be doing thanks and gratitude to but I just felt on this particular one, you've got to thank the people that kind of guided you through the way, because I could never have done this without you, Ed, Amadeus, Aki, Courtney, even Charlotte, my daughter. She had to sit and suffer listening to me talking about this album day in, day out. But I still listen to it. That's the thing.
I can't take it anymore.
I listened to it so many times during the sort of production and the prep and the sort of piecing it together. But the thing is, I can still listen to it and enjoy it. But I'm just enjoying it more than I did in 1986 because it sounds so much better.
Yeah, agreed. We're at the 60-minute mark. Let's pivot over quickly to Analogue October Records, the record shop, because I think you're truly unique in that you're not only living the vinyl life day in, day out through your record shop, you're obviously now also a reissue producer. What's it like living with a record shop? Tell me everything you need to know.
All right. So let me give you I love it, but it's you with the record label. You can kind of set your day and go, right, between 10 and 6, I'm going to be working on this, listening to test pressing. You can switch off and you can walk away. Not a problem. With a record shop, you never switch off because you'll always be getting an email from someone at 9 o'clock in the evening, 10 o'clock in the evening. And I don't mind this. I'm not complaining because, I don't sit on emails and go, I'll answer this tomorrow. It's 9 o'clock. Leave me alone. But you'll get messages from people saying, hey, my record's not turned up. Because I love my shop and I appreciate the patronage. You're obliged to kind of, jump on that problem straight away and find out where their record is. There's a big difference between being a record shop owner and a record label in as much as the fact that when you are a record shop, you can't switch. You are looking at pre-sales notices, of which you get hundreds of emails a day about upcoming titles. Customers, you have to look at your budgets for your buying and all that kind of stuff. So the two are very different beasts. In terms of which one I enjoy the most, Charlotte, my daughter, runs the shop brilliantly. So I could basically say to the shop, tomorrow, that's it. I'm going to focus on the next 3 titles, and you're in charge. And I would never have to worry about it because I know that it's in the safest of hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the shop is the best thing that I've ever done. Up until that point where I just, the label is now kind of where I feel that my real passion is, because I set the shop up and I built this customer base up, and then I kind of have, over the last couple of years, just let Charlotte sort of put her imprint on the shop. Yeah, people
take it over.
Yeah, because we are a jazz, I personally focus on the jazz stuff, and Charlotte has a really good handle on that, but she also has a really good handle on that stuff that I don't necessarily get, the youngs get.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great because then it allows me to sit upstairs in my office and work on the, AOR 002, very exciting potential 003, which I can't do if I'm sat behind Phil. Hey,
and you have to deal with the record shop. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find what you were looking for? Is there anything I can help you with? Charlotte's got a great handle on that. Charlotte looks after all of our social media, and we're just a small family run. I mean, Danny, if you came to the shop, you'd probably be surprised at how small this shop is, but it's got a big heart. And the label really is.
I volunteer to work one summer at the shop. I think it'll be a hoot.
Oh, you could be up New Boy.
Frankly, I mean, the only other person that I know that owns a record shop is obviously Mike Esposito with the In Groove record shop in Phoenix, Arizona, which obviously that's a whole different scale. You're talking about, obviously you're having a very compact, very tight store. He's got a very big store. He's doing a lot of volume. One of the things that always interested me is, as an independent record shop, as a small record shop, and by small I mean compact and very very intimate. How do you say yes to a title that's coming out versus how do you say no to a title? Like, what is your benchmark? How do you process the barrage of emails that you get in, to your point of, hey, here's an announcement, we're coming out with whatever. how do you decide, you know what, I'm not going to carry this, but I am going to carry this?
When it was just me, I would be like, buy everything. We need it all. And that doesn't work. So Charlotte is kind of the voice of reason. So when we do our pre-sales meeting with, let's say we're doing a pre-sales meeting with our rep from Universal, Luther, who's become a very good family friend. We always say that when it comes to the Blue Notes, the Verve stuff, the Impulse, the analog production stuff, it's always 3. So when stuff comes in an odd number, you know that one of those is from me. But occasionally we'll have the discussion, and Luther will say to me, we've got this new album coming out from this Mercury Award-winning artist, and I'll be like, ooh, what? And Charlotte will be like, you just need one, Dad. You just need one. And she's right. So she's kind of like my Jiminy Cricket. And she just knows, because she knows what's gonna sell. I know what I can sell, and that's the jazz. But she knows that she can sell all the other stuff. So she kind of reins me in. And it's been very interesting watching that whole sort of dynamic develop. So, she sits in on all those meetings that we have with Luther, and she goes through the pre-sale. It was very interesting this year. Record Store Day Black Friday was an absolute for us. The list was uninspiring.
Interesting.
I felt that the jazz was horrifically overpriced, and my spend on Record Store Day Black Friday this year. Bearing in mind that I spend thousands on Record Store Day. My spend for Record Store Day Black Friday wasn't even £360.
Wow.
The only thing people wanted was gut.
Let's face it, Black Friday is traditionally exclusively an American institution.
Yeah.
And of course, Black Friday refers to the Friday after Thursday of Thanksgiving. And traditionally, when you look back through the centuries, Black Friday has, of course, been the day where, it's coming up towards Christmas. Let's grab the biggest sale of the year. Let's figure out how to get people involved. And of course, today, frankly, you look on Amazon, there's a sale going on nonstop, right? And so I think Black Friday has lost its cachet of being the super sales event of the year, with online sales included, of course. And I guess I'm not surprised that Black Friday in the UK was, I wouldn't call it a dud, but nothing special.
Well,
you guys don't have Thanksgiving.
Well, I don't want to sound like the opening scene from The Godfather, where the baker is there, like, I love America, but Black Friday is quintessentially an American phenomenon, and it's a public holiday.
Yeah.
It's not a public holiday here. We're all working, so we probably had 4 people in the queue as opposed to a couple of hundred, which we have on Record Store Day. And I just thought, what? There's nothing really. There's nothing really there that I want. So, if I don't want it, my jazz customers probably won't want it. The only phone calls we were getting were, are you getting guts in? Are you getting guts in? And I was kind of like, well, fuck it, we'll just get a handful of things in, and that's what we did, and it all went. So I've got nothing left. It's not really a big deal. I mean, it's not really Record Store Day, on the other hand, Danny, is a massive day for us. But even that we've kind of streamlined when we poll the customers. That's what you're interested in, and online, and Actually, for the last 3 years,
Hey, I've been the great.
we've actually ended up selling out of everything and having very little stock left. The stock that we are left over is what we call viable stock, and it just kind of sells throughout the rest of the year. But my issue with Black Friday is that not Black Friday, record store day in general. Every time I see the list, I always say to myself, "This stuff is great, but why one day? Just bring it out, roll it out throughout the year, make the vinyl collecting interest consistent throughout the whole year, rather than just focusing on this one day." But, we enjoy the day.
Interesting.
We do well with it. But we don't treat the record store day stock any different than any other store. We don't margin it up.
Yeah.
Put in just like regular stock.
Nice. So,
what are your thoughts?
So I prepared the playlist for the house, obviously, which is Christmas themed. In fact, we've been listening to Christmas records for quite some time now. But before I get to that, there's two titles that I want to call out. So I've been looking for this forever. Alice Coltrane, the Monastic Trio. Unbelievable. Holy cow.
What year is that?
It cost me a pretty penny, but it's an incredible record. Absolutely incredible record. And it pretty much completes my Alice Coltrane stash, so to speak, of the records that I want from her. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. And then this one I found quite by accident, Cannibal Adderley, The Pyramid.
Oh,
Brilliant. Brilliant. Jazz Funk 72 on Fantasy. Oh my gosh. Craig, Jazz Funk at its finest. At its finest. But then
Danny,
course,
can I just say that Cannibal Adderley has been on my you-know-what list for a while.
You're kidding.
Maybe.
Too funny.
I mean, I don't want
It's
to.
a fantastic record.
It's a great record.
Absolutely fantastic record. So here we have a compilation record. Tennessee Ernie Ford on here, Glenn Campbell. Absolutely brilliant. It's just small arrangements. Again, it's a compilation record. I picked this up for I think $1 at the dollar bin. The great Perry Como. Fantastic. This is an original. Absolutely brilliant. One of my all-time favorite Christmas records. Bing Crosby, Merry Christmas. This is an original mono Decca. Stunning.
Christmas wouldn't be Christmas.
Then of course
without
we
Bing.
have more of a Thanksgiving theme. The Vince Guaraldi trio, of course. Fantastic. No Christmas can be complete without the great Nat King Cole. Another original favorite of mine. Then there's two Ramsey Lewis records, or Ramsey Lewis trio. The first one, Christmas, and then the follow-up to that, even more Christmas.
I have both of those. They're great.
Brilliant.
They are great. Well,
then, of course, my beloved hero. I mean, you can't have Christmas without Dean Martin. I mean, you just can't. So, it's a Christmas spirit here. It really is. Ray Charles, the Vinyl Me Please. This one I actually got from you. If you recall, this was about 2 years ago.
Is that the Bob James and yeah? No. So the Bob James one was on Vacation.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
That was a great album.
Yep. And then, of course, you can't. I mean, this is the original 45 RPM analog productions that I got in, I don't know, 2003, 2002. So anyway, Christmas. What's in your stash, my friend?
Well, Danny, I hate to break it to you, but my stash is actually your stash. So,
wait, what?
Yeah. So this isn't mine. This is stuff that I'm sending to you. Because I just sent you a 20.
I thought we stopped that.
No. So, is Kathy around? Kathy's not around, is she? Because I've just.
The door is closed.
She had to lump in a 20-kilo box that I sent you whilst you were on your road trip, enjoying the interstate highways of the USA. This 20-kilo box turned up. My ears were burning. I could sense that there's some more here for you. So this is the stuff that I couldn't fit in that box. This is the Giro in a Gaki.
Yes.
So
Brilliant.
And then we also have for you the Reissue Sakamoto.
I forgot about that. Oh, that's a good one. Nice.
All right.
Nice.
For anyone joining us,
it's always fun. It's always fun to go through my stash with you because literally every few months you send me a box and I literally do not remember what's in it. It's stuff that's accumulated over, a 2 or 3 month period. And I just literally have no clue. I forget what you have. So this is like Christmas.
I could send you anything. And just you ordered that in May. Okay. The stereo. Avado?
Yes. Oh, fantastic. Great. Yep.
You thought I'd forgot.
The Deutsche Grammophon series.
So I'm going to swap these around. So if you're still with us, this is the sublime sound of Yuji Ono. Touch.
Interesting. Nice. Oh yes. Yeah. I remember you texting me that.
He forgot.
Everyone. Brilliant.
He forgot. Do you remember this one?
Oh, there it is. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. La Planète Sauvage. Yes.
Absolute
fantastic. French
soundtrack.
Yep.
Yeah. And then this is stuff that arrives at the shop, not from me.
From various
UK
eBay stuff.
So Danny sends me all of his eBay stuff. I'm going to actually ask for your permission, Danny, before I box this up. Can I give this a spin? Because I'm intrigued.
Yes, 100%. Oh, that's Cooper, Bob Cooper, and
Bud Shank.
Yes. Oh, brilliant record.
Yep.
Nice.
Now I know you've got the second disc of this. I turned you on to this, and then I had to tell you that I couldn't get it in stock because it had been deleted at source. So you managed to source one in the US, and then you got one sent to me. If you can find it because it's just a trip.
I forgot about that. Yes, the Cosmic Machine, another French 70s electronic music. Yep, compilation disc.
It's bonkers. And then the oh no. I bet he forgot about this one too.
Oh yes, the Candy Sessions 95. Oh my goodness. Yes. Love it.
And then this.
Good one.
What's the story behind this? Because I listened to it. I didn't listen to this. I streamed it. I was like, and this is great.
Robin Trower, First Press UK, which again, in the scheme of hot stampers, is completely meaningless. But this is the First Press UK Robin Trower. I mean, the great Robin Trower. You can't go wrong with it.
Is there anything else inbound? Are we expecting, or can I get this ready to ship? Or
I think that's it. I think that's it. I think that's it. Unless there's something that I'm sure I'll find online on your great website, which I'll put a link to below, of course.
Thank you. And obviously, if it's out of stock, we can
Craig,
get it in.
This has been absolutely fun talking to you about AOR 1 and what's to come. Mega kudos to you for doing what you do. I think it's brilliant. It's incredible how I've seen you progress from not only, most people, let's face it, 90% of people talk is cheap. There is that 10% that actually do what they say they will do. And you're certainly one of those where I was like, holy cow, he's actually pulling it off and creating a new record reissue label. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant.
What I'd like to do, Danny, is obviously thank you, because you've been quite instrumental in the process. When I'm ready to announce what the next one will be, and it's very different to what we've just released. This is a very different direction. Still jazz, but not quite. I'd like to announce it with you and the Jazz Bums, and I think it's an artist, again, a bit like Courtney Pine. I think it's an artist where, why isn't this being done? It's there's so much stuff that's being reissued, and another brick in the wall, and I'm just kind of like, the whole joy of buying records in the 70s and 80s was there was just so much stuff coming out, and some of it was great, some of it not so much. But this particular title from 1979, which we're working on now with Universal, hopefully, is I will never tire of it. And it might not be for you, or it might not be for you, but it might be for you. And those are the people that I'm hoping will buy it. And I think it's important, even more so now, to support your local independent record shop, but also support the local independent record labels who are really putting their nuts on the line to create their own supply chain, because the majors are kind of just comfortable churning out the same stuff ad nauseum, and it's small independent labels like Newland and all the other guys who are taking the risk.
Agreed. Craig, it's been fun.
And it's a massive risk.
Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate you. All good. We will cheers to the next title and to many more to come.
And can I just say, Danny, I don't want to sound. It's great to have you back as well on a regular basis. You were missed.
You were missed. Thank you. It's learning with contractors here in Maine. Everything takes 4 times as long and costs twice as much. And so I was deeply hoping to have had my Studio A already finished. Of course, Studio B is our main living room space. And unfortunately, that's not the case. I think they're going to start finishing it up in a couple of weeks. We're just finishing up, I should say, with our painter, who's doing a fantastic job. But again, it's small population, big state, good contractors are hard to come by, and they are in demand. And so it just takes a long time to get things done, but we're getting there. And yeah, I can't wait to get back into the YouTube game. So anyway, Greg, always fun.
This delay is really weird. But anyway, look, we'll carry this conversation on FaceTime. But thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers. Bye-bye.